Hey folks, welcome to week 6 of DMD250, Intro to Data Visualization. Alright, let's take a look and see what we are doing this week. We'll go down to the week 6 module, go to the week 6 overview. Okay, so this week is part 2 of basic data visualization. Last week we took a quick look at things like Microsoft Excel and some other spreadsheet tools that can be used to make some basic charts and graphs. And of course we introduced you guys to Infogram, which is going to be sort of the main digital tool that we are going to use in this class to create interactive data visualizations. And so just the contrast between the more traditional spreadsheet software and something a little more modern like Infogram. Now, the main thing this week is that you are going to finish up project 1, which is the Visualize Your Life project. Where you are using Infogram to take something that you are tracking or counting or measuring from your life and turning it into a small collection of some interactive data visualizations along with some photography and other things to make a nice presentation. So we'll look at that in a second. And then the other thing we're doing this week, once you get that done, is to spend some time exploring some other digital tools, which I'm going to introduce in a second, which we can also use for future projects in this class. So again, Infogram is going to be sort of our main piece of software, but I just want you to look at some other options that will either help to embellish what we're doing in Infogram or will make sense with some other projects, because we have multiple data visualization projects that we're going to work on. Okay, so back to the main thing this week, which of course is to finish project 1, which is Visualize Your Life. So by now, of course, everybody has chosen what they are tracking. Should have a nice collection of data, whether it be, numbers of miles that you run every week, or numbers of times you've listened to certain songs in your music collection, or whatever it is you're tracking. And you should have turned that into sort of a basic spreadsheet by now, using either Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets or something like that. Then, of course, you're moving it into Infogram and turning it into some interactive data visualization. Now, like I said, Infogram, which is this right here, is the digital online platform we are using to do most of our data visualization projects. And in truth, you could use Infogram to do pretty much everything in this class, and if you want to, that's fine too, because Infogram has quite a bit of functionality when you really get into it. But this week, specifically, we're going with something like this for your Visualize Your Life. In my case, I did this sort of fictitious weekly cookie sales. It's a presentation tracking cookies that were sold over a certain period of time by flavor, double chocolate, snickerdoodle, peanut butter, etc. And so I've got this nice interactive bar graph at the top, as well as some, cookie graphics up top, a title, nice photograph, also another interactive data visualization using a really simple bubble chart just to go over the specifics of chocolate chip cookie sales alone, which are my favorite. And then down here we have a different type of chart sort of showing which ones are the best sellers, double chocolate first and foremost, all the way down to pecan sandies on each day of the week. So Sunday to Monday to Friday and so on and so forth. So you can go through the week and see which are the best sellers. It doesn't change much from week to week. Apparently nobody likes pecan sandies, but you get the idea. And then of course we have another nice photograph here. So that's what you're going to create for your project 1, is this nice sort of presentation poster in Infogram, which is going to have 2 to 3 different data visualizations which sort of drill down on your different bits of data, and then some nice supporting photography and whatnot. By now, of course, you're used to using Infogram, you've played around with it a little bit, and you should be able to do this no problem. And then when you're all done with it, you are going to go to the Share button, and you're going to click on Public on the web, and then you're basically going to copy and paste this link that it creates for you into Canvas for your submission at the end of this week. Now, we went over this before, but I just wanted to quickly go over it again. So you should be pretty clear on what you're doing this week to finish this up. Now, once you get that finished, of course, you can then explore this week some of the other tools. Now, back into our overview for the week, I do mention a couple of them. Adobe Spark, which we have a handout all about, which we're going to look at in a second, and this one here called Story Maps, which allows you to create visualization based on geographical data. Now, Infogram, as you can see over here, does have map capability, so we can certainly use that for one of our later projects, which is about maps, but StoryMap specializes in such things, and so I want you to explore that too. Okay, now, just to go backwards a little bit, so this here is Microsoft Excel. We looked at this last week or so, and so, you know, this is sort of what we would start with as sort of a basic option, right? You can create these nice data visualizations in Microsoft Excel, and they have all sorts of options under the Insert tab, which we went over last time. But these are not interactive. They can be shared as Excel files, as PDFs, but basically flat files. Now, the spreadsheet that you started out with for your Visualize Your Life project might look something like this, really simple, but you brought it in from either Excel or Google Sheets into Infogram. But of course you can do it right in Excel. So if you've had a chance to play around with some of the data visualizations in Excel, or maybe you're familiar with them from a previous class, then that's sort of a simple option. Now, I mentioned last week and showed an example of Apple Numbers. This here is Apple Numbers. Today I just wanted to sort of show it to you in action a little bit. So here's that exact same spreadsheet we just looked at. Really simple, tracking cookie sales, nothing super fancy. But that gives us a set of data that we can turn into some visualizations. Now, Numbers is similar to Microsoft Excel. It's Apple's version of it. And while you can make spreadsheets in Numbers, they're more free-floating, like this here. You can kind of move them all over the place. And when it comes time to insert data visualizations, it's a little less complicated. You just choose the spreadsheet you want to draw the data from, and then you go up here to the tools, and you can go to the chart section, and you'll see there are 3 different options. There are 2-dimensional charts, and you know, everything from bar graphs to pie charts to donut charts and so on and so forth, and you can go through the options here. There's a ton of them based on style and color. Okay, you can do 3-dimensional charts and graphs. Again, same sort of thing, bar graphs, pie charts. Now, the types of charts available in Numbers is not as vast as the types available to you in Excel, but visually they're more interesting. So, for example, if we were to do, you know, a bar chart here in 3 dimensions, you know, it's a good looking bar chart, and it's completely 3-dimensional. I can pick it up and spin it around. I can move it, I can resize it, and then I can rotate it in space for the presentation. So they're really advanced in Apple Numbers. They're beautiful to look at, really advanced. And over here, once you pick it, there's all sorts of options for changing the color palette, for adding sections like captions and titles, changing the font for the captions and titles, and so on and so forth. You can customize the heck out of it in Apple Numbers. So they're really good looking charts and graphs. So that is totally an option. The other thing that Apple Numbers offers that Microsoft Excel does not is the thing we were talking about Infogram, is the idea of interactive charts and graphs. Now, there's not a ton of them in Apple Numbers. There's only 4 options. There's a bar chart, 2 different bar charts. There's this sort of scatter chart as well as a bubble chart. But if you choose one of those, then you can see as you go through the timeline, you can see that the bars sort of move in time based on the different segments. So again, a little more interactive than what you would have in Microsoft Excel, certainly visually more interesting and very editable. Again, there's all sorts of edits over here on the right-hand side. So I would certainly encourage you, if you have an Apple computer, to check out Apple Numbers as a possible tool to create the data visualization projects for this class. It's a free piece of software. If you have an Apple computer, just go to the App Store and download Numbers. It's completely free, so it doesn't cost you a dime, and it's got some great functionality built into it. So that is another option. Now, if you don't have an Apple computer, or if you're just not interested in Numbers, other things we can look at that are a little more specific outside of Infogram. You know, Infogram, of course, is designed specifically for data visualizations, naturally. So everything in here offers you the option not only to make good-looking presentations and graphics, but also really good interactive data visualizations. But other programs like Adobe Spark, which, if you go back to our Week 6 overview, there was a handout about Adobe Spark that you can look at, which is this right here, all about Spark. This goes through sort of how Adobe Spark works. Now, Adobe Spark is not by any means a data visualization program. However, it is a visual design program that is free to use by Adobe, and it allows you to create graphics, single-use web pages, and what they call video stories, which are really just sort of really interesting presentations. So you can certainly leverage these tools in creating some of your projects for this class as well. So I would totally encourage you to play around with Spark. Free to sign up for. You can sign up with your Google account. It's completely free, and it's a really interesting and powerful tool. And again, not really designed for data visualizations, but if you're creative with the use of it, you can come up with some interesting ways to use it. And then the last one I want to introduce you to, which again, there's a link to it right here in our Week 6 overview, is Story Maps, specifically from the company ArcGIS Story Maps. And so these allow you to, again, sign up for a free account, which is great. I just signed up with Google. It's easy to use. Or you can sign up with your email or whatever. And it allows you to create geographically based data visualizations, maps. And so if you sign in, it sort of works similar to Infogram and Spark in that you have a collection of stuff that you can do. But then when you go to create a new story, you can start one from scratch. You can make something that looks like this, what they call a sidecar, which is basically a map along with information to the left. A guided map tour, which is really cool. You could set up a map and then take your viewers through a tour, or an explorer map tour. Obviously, you've got to do some research and sort of play around with these and see how it goes. I'll post some tutorial videos for story maps, as well as maybe some examples for you to play around with. But anyway, this is a good week to really kind of get to know some more tools, because you've been using Infogram, you're probably a little familiar with Excel, you might have a little experience with Apple numbers, maybe not, but you're probably not familiar with Spark and Story Maps. So since you're just finishing up Project 1 this week, take some time this week to play around with these tools, because next week we're going to sort of go really full blast into building new data visualizations, doing a lot of research, and really getting into these projects now that we've sort of tried out Project 1 just to get our feet wet, right? Meanwhile, for homework this week, your research and inquiry project is still underway. Project 2 you were going to keep moving along with. So be sure to see where you are with that, check the deadlines, and we will check in when we are next together live. All right, you guys have a good day. If you need anything, remember Mondays and Fridays, Zoom office hours, you can always find me, and have a good